And good morning. It's a rainy morning here in Tennessee. Hope you're doing well wherever you're at. Drinking a little Headbangers Brew this morning in my sanctuary mug. And hmm, can I just say it's the best coffee in the world? There's a little shameless plug, huh? So, folks, all of our stuff, our posters, our mugs, our t shirts, we got a lot of stuff right here. WeAreMetal.com or sanctuaryinternational.com/merch. Wherever you go, you're going to get there. And lots of stuff for you. So, great show today. Our friends from MOTIVIK are here today. Ryan and Courtney will be joining us in just a few minutes. And excited for them to be here. My co host will be here in a few minutes as well. Got Parker Matthew is here with us, and excited to have him on the show too. Part of our great staff here at Sanctuary, and excited for you to meet him. Great recording artist as well. I want you to know him. So, folks, thank you for joining me today. And once again, if you're just joining, would you sign in? Let me know where you're watching from. That would be a cool thing to be able to see where you're from and exactly who's watching today. I'm going to push this camera back just a little bit. You know, some of you are probably saying, Pastor Bob, you're just a little too close. I know. There we go. And John's going to tell me to tip that up a little bit. And okay. There we go. So, folks, yeah, great weekend. This last weekend, we had our gathering and just such a good time. We have two worship bands, teams, whatever. In fact, one we call the worship team, one we call the worship band. The worship band is a lot more metal, a lot more in your face. Uh, um, Younger people, I guess, we call them the old ones and the geezers. Yeah. But they performed and led worship Saturday at the event, our gathering event. Such a great job, and I appreciate those guys so much. And then Sunday, Jim Laverty and the older worship team, and we've got people on the worship team that have been on the worship team since the beginning. Glenn, the drummer for Vengeance, and his wife Sherry, who was on the original worship team, still is, and um, Chris Sorensen from Fear Not, Steve Casto from Red Sea, of course, Jim from Barren Cross, and a host of other people. Just really good music and great time together. If you haven't been to one of our gatherings or even a Sunday church service, you're always invited. We'd love to have you there. The gathering is always the first Saturday of every month, so join us. If you have to drive for a little bit, it's worth it. Stay the whole weekend. Sundays, every Sunday, 10:30 at the storehouse. We call it 242 at the storehouse from Acts 2:42. Teach, meet, eat, pray. And by the way, we eat every time we get together. That's important. And so every Sunday we have breakfast. We serve breakfast, and we have a great time of discussion and fellowship and eating and praying together. So lots of things coming up. We'll talk about some of those things as we get a little further into the show. Um, Immortal Fest is one of them, by the way, and Immortal Fest happens the last weekend of July. It's the Sanctuary 40th anniversary. Can you believe it? We've been doing this for 40 years, and we've got some really great bands playing. Um, Great to hear some of the bands that have been there since the very beginning playing, as well as some of the new ones. We've got a special treat this time. Vengeance will be performing, and Vengeance is one of the original Sanctuary bands from 1987. Yeah, and they'll be there. Excited to have them on stage again. This will be fun. But just a lot of events. And then, of course, the second Immortal Fest, the very last weekend of August. So we've got some great times coming up. There's the first one. You can see all the bands playing. Really, really good lineup um, for the first and second one. The second one, even more bands, even, a whole lot of people that you're not going to want to miss. Everybody from Randy Stonehill to Les Carlson to King James to Daniel Ben, um, the Protest Incandescent, just great bands. Sacred Warrior, good stuff. I had the privilege of being on Ray Perez podcast last night, the singer for Sacred Warrior. We had such a good time. Um, Talked about weird food that we've eaten over the years. Yeah, and a few other things, but that was a lot of it. We just had fun. And if you have a chance to go back and watch that, that'd be great. And Ray will be joining us here on this show in a few weeks, so watch for that. It'll be fun. So, my co host today is Parker Matthew. Parker, great to have you on the show today. There he is.
Morning, Bob, and
You're
everybody.
So Parker honestly is one of my favorite people in the world. He's awesome. He's awesome. See, there you go. It's a love fest.
That's great.
And Parker, I'm excited that you're here today, and I want people to get to know you a little better. So this is their opportunity. Now, first of all, I want to talk about some of the nuts and bolts here at Sanctuary. You pretty much run the food ministry here, and which means that there's a little bit of physical work involved. And tell us exactly what the food ministry encompasses and what happens. Just give us a little rundown.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so 3 times a week we go and pick up from Trader Joe's out in Nashville. They donate all of their food that's about to go bad, and then we'll take it. I get to drive this huge, cool former U-Haul box truck that has the Sanctuary logo all over it, which is super dope. It's a photo op every single pickup. I'll get photos by the cool guitar logo out in Nashville. But anyway, so it's cool. It's cool getting to work out there. Also, just random side note, the people at Trader Joe's out there are super freaking cool. It's
Yeah,
neat getting to kind of like chit chat with them every time. But they'll load us up. We usually get 1 or 2 pallets full of stuff, bring it back here to the storehouse, differentiate it out. We've got a really cool dude named Matt that who helps us out. I love working with him. And so we'll basically divide it out amongst the different ministries that are coming. When I first started working here, I thought it was just for homeless ministries. And then it turns out there's actually a lot of different things going on, which are really cool. A lot of people in need that are getting fed. I've been one of those people who has been like, I don't know where my next meal is going to come from at any given moment. So it's a really interesting position to be in where you're kind of filling that need for other people. So it's some of the most fulfilling work I've ever done. It is minorly physically taxing. Now that you mentioned moving a lot of boxes, it can be a little tiring some days if we end up with like 2 pallets, taking a bunch of huge boxes off. Because, dude, you wouldn't believe how many bananas they overstock. Just like 5 boxes full of
yeah.
bananas every time. But
Uh,
it's a blast. It's really rewarding. It's really cool getting to meet all the different people for all the different ministries too. Um, all those people are super, super sweet. It's really neat.
yeah, yeah, they are. And you mentioned the diversity of the people that we serve as well. We have everything from rehab centers. There's a Christian rehab center that we give food to, and I think right now they've got 65 men, and I don't know how many women in different housing and people coming off the streets, people learning a trade, you know, getting their lives together spiritually. Just really, really great. And everything from that to homeless ministries to trafficking ministries, people that are helping women get away from their trafficking lifestyle and kind of smuggling them out of town a little bit and we provide food for some of those ministries too. So a lot of exciting things that happen with the food besides what we do with it as well. So, so Parker, that's kind of, I guess we'll call that your day job. You got
Yeah.
more going on than that, and professionally, you are called Parker the Bandit. And I want to know first of all how that came to be, the bandit part of it.
A couple funny things actually. The first one is my legal name is Matthew Parker. Parker's my last name. I started going by that because there's just too many of us Matthews. In fact, if you go on Facebook and you type in Matthew Parker, there's like a million. You'll never find me. I was buried. So the final straw for me was when I was at Taco Bell and they were like Matthew, and three people stood up, and I was like, that's it. I cannot go by my first name. So I started going by Parker. The bandit part. The funny thing is, my mother's name is Bonnie, right? And so her legal name is Bonnie Parker now. And so that's, if anybody doesn't know, Bonnie and Clyde, like famous Western outlaws from Texas. That's my legal name. Parker comes all the way back from there. Like there's a
Ah,
distant relation to the actual Bonnie Parker, which just makes it even funnier that my mom is Bonnie Parker. So that was part of it. It was part of like the Western outlaw kind of thing. The kicker for me was basically, if anybody knows the movie Smokey and the Bandit,
yeah.
that had that 70s Trans Am in it, me and my dad used to fix up old muscle cars when I was in high school and like try to flip them. And the first one that we finished was a 70s Trans Am with the big bandit bird on the hood. And I drove that like as my daily driver, eight miles to the gallon, all through high school. And so people around town started recognizing the car, and then they'd recognize me. And just a couple times somebody would be like, "Hey, aren't you the bandit?" And I was like, "Okay, I guess I'm the bandit."
That's awesome, dude.
It's fun.
Well, we have a few things in common. I used to have one of those old Trans Ams,
Oh, for sure. Oh, that's awesome.
and great car until it wasn't. And then,
Right.
and of course, both of us have a mother named Bonnie.
Isn't that crazy?
I know. You know, it's a good thing that you wear glasses because I think there's so much in common that they might not be able to tell us apart.
Right. They couldn't just like that. All of a sudden, it's like a mirror. It's
The
so confusing.
image. That's
Am I
all.
Bob? Who's Bob? I don't know. Maybe we're all Bob.
Yeah, exactly. Well, exciting thing about you, Parker, is that you are not only a musician but a really good one
Oh, thank you.
player. You've got some stuff that you're doing very well with your music. Tell us a little bit about it, the style, when you started, what's going on with it today. Just give us
Yeah.
a down.
Well, so my music started like when I first started writing music, in late middle school, early high school. I had a couple of friends that like on the internet, and we would basically just like record really terrible demos in our bedrooms and like email them back and forth and like try to put them together. They ended up moving here from Colorado. They were two brothers, like really good friends of mine. And so my first couple of bands that I was in one with one or both of those brothers. And so we gigged out a lot. It was very garage band style. It was Christian rock. It was very, very raw, like grunge rock kind of thing. I went from that when that band disbanded. There was a lot of inner turmoil with me, and I was very upset. And I was like, I'm done. I quit music. So I sold all of my guitars except for one that I had built. And so I was just like, forget it. And I just got into cars. I sold cars. I threw music out the window. At some point, I got my mental health more on track. And as soon as that started cleaning up, I was like, I can't turn the music thing off. Like, it's just, I keep creating whether I want to or not. So I left my very well paying sales job to be basically, I did like construction contractor stuff, so that I can control my own hours, so that I could focus on music a little bit more. I couldn't get a band pulled together. And so I decided I was just going to go it alone for now and then eventually pull people together. So, because it just, for me, I can't wait. I can't wait on other people. It makes me go crazy. And so I started writing some solo stuff. I ended up befriending a guy who worked for a management slash distribution company. And when I showed him a couple of my demos, he got really excited about it. And he was like, hey, you should come into the office and let's talk. And even though we didn't end up doing it like a contract, just because after we got to know each other better and our management styles, if that's a thing,
Yeah.
I just realized I didn't like the direction that he was going. It felt a little bit more old school. So for me, I was like, I'm just gonna try and just make as much music as I can on my own, and then just share it as fast as possible. And so basically when Parker the Bandit started, initially I was just doing like some TikTok covers and stuff like that. But when dropped my first song, it's funny, my first song started because I was trying to do educational content. I was trying to learn how algorithms worked on social media. And so I thought educational content is a thing. And if you do a how-to video, they do better. And so I thought maybe I'll do a how to write a song series. And so I wrote a song from scratch and like walked through that. And so that ended up being my first single that I put out and got a little bit of traction. And then basically, I just kind of hit it hard. I've dropped a song almost every month for the past 2 years or so, just pushing, pushing, pushing. And I think that's the main thing that's making it work is just the consistency.
Yes.
People do like it. I've found my niche audience. But basically, what I'm doing now is more of a blend of things. When I was in between my last band and what I'm doing now, I started co-writing with a friend of mine who just does strictly pop music, so it forced me to sing differently. It forced me to write differently. I got a lot more like chord, melody, hook minded. And
Hmm.
then when I kind of came back to my rock roots and added that element to it, I'm suddenly, in my opinion, making like something that's actually unique, something that I'm actually excited about, instead of kind of generic copy paste rock and metal sounds, for lack of a better term. But anyway, so yeah, that's basically what I'm doing now is just a lot of alt rock, pop rock, whatever you want to call it. I still haven't pulled a band together, and I'm kind of enjoying that. I've gotten to the point where I basically run a looper pedal with a couple of tracks on my keyboard so that I can kind of like punch things together and stack things and then do a bunch of different sounds without having to like pay a bunch of other people. So bigger
Yes.
piece of pie for me.
Yes. Well, you're doing well, and your music is quite popular on
Thank you.
like Spotify. You're
It's
doing.
getting there.
We need to have a link on Spotify for you. Actually, I think we have your link tree.
Yeah, Spotify's right at the top. The first thing is a string of where to listen.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a really good place to go for you. And your Spotify feed under there we go. Parker the Bandit. Well, there's your Facebook, but you're not on Facebook so much.
Yeah, I'm still trying to get my Facebook synced up properly. My Instagram, for some reason, tries to post to my personal account, which got really awkward because suddenly I looked like I was advertising to my friends. So I still need to link that back up better.
I guess that's awesome. Well, dude, what do you see for the future? Do you ever want to put a band together, or do you feel like you're a single artist?
I'm really enjoying the solo artist thing, mostly just because I can literally gig out of a backpack. Like I use an amp modeler, so I don't have to carry an amp. I have a headless guitar, so it's like half the size. I don't have to carry hardly anything. So for now, I'm just having a really good time with that, with being able to just kind of go with the wind and just do like busking and pop up shows and stuff like that. And so that's the direction I'm leaning towards. I feel like, I feel like from my experience with working with some bigger bands, you're somewhat expected to step up your live show as you go along. Like people want to see it evolve and become something new and different experience each time you come through. So I think that at some point, if the size of it makes sense, I would really enjoy doing like a traditional rock band style of my songs. They're very electronic right now, the way they're produced. So I do have this daydream of having like a five-piece band and making it more of like an arena rock sound for the live shows. But that I have no idea if or when that'll actually pan out. For now, I'm just really trying to hone in how to make the biggest, most exciting show with just one guy and two instruments.
Yeah. Well, dude, you're definitely in the right place. When that room that you're sitting in right now, which is the Sanctuary Storehouse, when that room is full, it's mostly musicians, isn't it?
Yeah, sure is. Yeah, it's really cool getting to hang out here. Like if I'm here during the day, somebody's just jamming. Like I could just pop in and hang out with people. It's great.
Yes, and your neighbor is Jim Laverty here,
Yeah.
so you've got a good cohort there, and he's fun to jam with, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a legend, dude. I got to jam with him for the first time a few weeks ago, and I was like, this is pretty cool. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool playing along with Jim.
And that's what he told me about you too. He said, man,
Oh,
really good. Jim doesn't just say that about people.
that's
So,
cool. That means a lot.
but we're excited to have you here, by the way.
Thank you,
And
Bob.
here at Sanctuary. Folks, if you haven't checked out Parker the Bandit, do that. Go to Spotify right now and listen to some of his stuff. Well, not right now, after the show's over.
Yeah.
And
Listen to Bob, then listen to Parker.
Parker the Bandit, and listen to some really, really great songs. Very proud of this guy, very, very excited about his future. You know, Parker, like they say, your future's so bright, you have to wear shades, and you are.
I appreciate that a lot, Bob.
All right, dude. Well, Parker, thank you again. And
Absolutely.
rainy day today, so it's a stay inside day, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd stay in and make music.
There you go. I like that idea. All right, folks, and don't you go anywhere. We've got Motivik coming up in just a minute. See you then.
Hello, my friends. I hope to see you this year at the Loud and Proud Festival. I'm going to be there along with a lot of great bands and a lot of great people. Great fellowship, great music, great time together. Loud and Proud Festival coming up.
And we're back with Ryan and Courtney from Motivik. Excited to have these guys on the show today. Good morning, guys.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Thanks for having us.
Here. Awesome to have you here. And I'm so excited to dig in and find out what's going on with Motivik. You know, there are some people here that are not familiar with your music. I know. Living under a rock, I'm not sure why that would happen, but we want to make sure that when we leave the show today, they know everything about Motivik. So let's begin there. You guys, again, thank you for joining me. You guys live in the Atlanta area, is that right?
That's right.
Yeah. And so you're not all that far from us. You got to come up and join us one of these weekends.
We would love
Absolutely.
that. We would absolutely love that.
We would love that. And come on and bring your cars, and we'd love to hear some music.
That'd be
Be
fun.
fun.
Join all the many musicians that we've got here. It's a little we've got a pretty, I looked out at our congregation this weekend, and I'm thinking, there are very few people who are musicians here, which is not the ordinary church, but it's kind of nice to be surrounded with music. So uh, we'd love to have you come and share yours as well. But let's start at the beginning. And, let's talk about COVID. You guys have been around for a while. You took a little hiatus and came back, but you started actually in the early 90s. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, we started around 93 when we were 15, 16 years old. And yeah, we sounded terrible, but it was a blast. Um, so yeah,
Yep.
there we are.
Yep, there it is.
Um,
We definitely had a flair for the drama. We loved the drama.
Yeah, that's great. That is.
yeah.
So, and
So
was 1993, you said?
yeah, we pretty much from 93 till around 98,
Okay.
we were unorthodox and playing in the Atlanta, North Atlanta, just the south eastern areas. And but yeah, we had a blast playing through high school and early college, and really we had the bug then, so that's when it all began.
Yeah.
That's
Went
awesome.
through a couple of different. We went through a couple of different styles. We kind of started out thrash, really inspired by Vengeance and the speed metal of Deliverance, people like that, and then we kind of went hardcore a little bit. After that,
Mixed styles.
we moved into ska. We did a ska project for a little while, and then eventually came back to kind of a more modern metal thrash thing before disbanding when everybody went off to college.
Yeah, that's awesome. And a lot of people went to the ska route during those days. I remember.
Yeah, we took a ska break and just did ska for about 6 months, I'd say.
Yeah, and it was our biggest
And
crowds, absolute
it
biggest
was
crowds.
it was
We
a
haven't
lot of
seen
fun.
those numbers since. Yeah,
It was a lot of fun.
Well, and it's a style that I love too, by the way. One of the bands here that actually started at Sanctuary is a band called Christafari.
yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah.
Do reggae, and the singer Mark is still a Sanctuary pastor, but they've kind of gotten into the reggae, the ska scene, that whole thing, and I really love that scene. So much going on with it too.
It's fun.
But it's not exactly metal. So you went from one extreme almost to another, and then you kind of not only stopped playing, but you lost track of each other. Is that right?
yeah. We after college, Ryan and I both went into ministry, kind of separate ministry. I've always been a musician. I've always been kind of a worship pastor, worship leader. Was actually a youth pastor for a while, and then transitioned into kind of school administration, Christian school administration. So I'm actually in my office now. I've got 600 kids, hopefully behaving somewhere above me. But over those years, Ryan got involved heavily in church ministry, church music ministry as well. So we just kind of went our separate ways. And it was actually during, if I'm not mistaken, Ryan's our resident historian, so he can tell you day and time. But at some point during, I want to say the COVID era, I think I was at home a lot. He was at home a lot, just with schools being what they are. And he texted me, and I hadn't heard a message from him in at least 10 years.
Wow.
Didn't even know if that was the right phone number or not. And he just said, "Hey, I'm writing music. I'd like for you to come hear it." And it was a little, it was a little strange. And he and I've had this conversation several times. It was a little strange that, I hadn't heard in so long, and and our departure from one another wasn't negative. I don't want to say it was negative, but it was certainly awkward, and there was a lot of questionable things that kind of led to that. And so I was very hesitant to go hang out with him, but I'm glad the Lord pushed me. My wife pushed me to do that, because he's used it. He's used it ever since. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I'm grateful.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it was interesting time during COVID. You know, everybody, the whole world, it was something new that none of us had ever experienced, and um, you know, just the Lord started writing again. I didn't have any intention really of coming back to metal. I had been, for 10 years, I'd served in ministry, early 2000s to around 2013. And then pretty much deconstructed, walked away from it. I was tired of ministry. I wanted to go hide in a cave, and didn't really intend to come back to metal, but it's just funny how that worked out. So I was grateful Courtney replied back to my text.
Well, and I really think that once metal is in your blood, what are you going to do?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
so true. Yeah, yeah.
That's our roots. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, from the beginning stages to where you are today, how has music evolved? What do you see that, because you've both been involved in a lot of very different things over the years. Coming back together must have been a unique experience. You brought a whole new skill set back together again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would even say just my musical journey after Unorthodox, it went very much kind of an acoustic folk, kind of folk rock, modern Bob Dylan kind of thing. And I would say even now with some of the songs on the last record, they still have a lot of that influence. The writing style, the narrative style of that kind of a music really plays a big role into who we are and how we write. And I think it's been a good thing. I think the Lord has melded and amalgamated a lot of different influences. One song can change to really 4 or 5 different songs within it. For folks who've never heard our music, it's quite a journey. Some of it is it'll go from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, all really carrying a motif, or all really carrying a theme. Obviously, that theme is Christ. That theme is restoration. From album 1 to album 2, even going back to the demo that was recently released by Rox Records, that I think that theme is there, and that's really what MOTIVIK stands for. It's actually the German word for motif. And we have a theme, and that theme is Christ. And we want our music to be an encouragement to others, because we are living in a time when people are deconstructing, just to pull that comment full circle. And we want to, we just, with our voice, want to say, hang in there. And prayerfully, the Lord's doing that.
Absolutely. So your music really is a reflection of your heart, obviously. Your I guess your modus operandi, your MO, is to really begin to speak to the hearts of people, to draw those people that may be hurting, whatever, and give them some hope. What kinds of things motivate you as you're writing music, as you're presenting it?
yeah, I mean, it's interesting when you're writing. I think all songwriters can probably relate to this, especially if you're a believer. Um, Sometimes it's, you can write a song in half hour, and sometimes it's a riff or something that sticks with you for years. But the content, when I'm writing, it's I want to be down in the studio, locked away, and really allow the music to write itself naturally through course, the Lord inspiring. And, you know, those themes that come out, like in our last record, Renouncement, there's just so much there that we discuss. We even did a cover of course, the album's titled Renouncements, based off of Betrayal's song, you know, Renouncement. It's a cover. We covered the song. So, but from Final Hour, which talks about Christ's suffering, and to Lord of Death, him conquering death. And also, you know, a tune that I wrote on that record was Dead by Daylight, which was, it really was about, you know, I work in Atlanta on a daily basis, so I'm around homeless people quite often. And I used to work quite often in soup kitchens and videoing and filming and doing that kind of stuff. And Dead by Daylight was a song really about someone who's, you know, downtrodden, overlooked, the homeless people and other people like that, you know.
Yes.
And so it varies. But I try to, we both just try to let it flow naturally and authentically. You know, a moment ago, you're talking about how things have changed over the years. I think now, working in music, I was a music major and all that good stuff. You know, I love the aggression. I love all that stuff, but I also like a good payoff, a good hook. So you'll notice in our, excuse me, in our music, there's usually some type of chorus or whatever with melody and mixed with screaming and everything. So I think it's just a big pot that we've stirred our musical history into, and it comes out like MOTIVIK.
Yes. Well, and you know, it's cool that you worked with homeless, because you learn a lot, honestly, that, you know, honestly, one thing that you learn is that the word homeless applies to a lot of people who aren't necessarily houseless.
Sure.
Everybody's looking for home. Home is what the house becomes when you settle there, when you find peace there, when you can sit down and you're home. And I think there are a lot of people who are looking for something that makes everything make sense. We come home.
Ooh,
It's
amen.
house living. It's home from there. But don't you see that when you're working with the homeless, as you have, that there are just a lot of people who are not only looking for a house, but looking for a home.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You see that a lot.
I think, and folks, let me encourage you that if you've never been involved with working with people who are really needy, people who are homeless, or people who are being trafficked, you know, 50 million people right now are being trafficked around the world, 50 million. And a lot of trafficking is sponsored by government, I believe by huge corporations. People that are involved in it, it's the list goes on. And those of us that work in this field, I'm always amazed by the people who are actually involved. But outside of maybe Jonas is here. Um, some guys, some guys from Denmark, and he said I just got off work, so I missed the first half. So I did have you here. Appreciate it. I just spent some time with Jonas in Denmark a few weeks ago. Other folks from California, Canada, Australia, lots of good people from Australia. Folks, if you're just joining us, let us know where you're watching from. We'll do that. If you have any questions for the guys from MOTIVIK, please just write them down. We'll put them up on the screen, and we'd love to share them as well. So, guys, you mentioned that you just had a release with
Yeah, it was released back in October, if I'm not mistaken. October 1st. Was that it, Ryan?
Great.
July 1st, last summer.
July 1st. Okay, summer.
Yep.
Yeah, Bill has been such a blessing. It's just such a nice guy, such a
He's awesome.
supporter, such
Yeah,
a
we love Bill.
generous guy, and we're very, very grateful. Early on, I think, when we were kind of recording that song, picking up where we left off earlier in the basement and at Ryan's house, and he posted it on some channel. I don't have social media, so Ryan kind of keeps us up to date on all that. And he posted something on a channel, and Bill picked it up right away. Awesome. And has just been a huge support to us ever since. So great. Honestly, we could not do what we do without his support. So I am very, very grateful to him.
That's awesome. I'm so glad. He says he's having some difficulty with my microphone. We've always had a problem with phones here for whatever. So
it happens.
Yeah, it happens. That's right. Yeah. So let me know if it gets worse, and I'll try to make some adjustments. Thank you. So, well, folks, if you have any questions, please just leave them. And folks, also don't forget to sign in. Let us know where you're watching from as well. So, guys,
I think I caught that. It was cutting out a little bit. New album, some new material. So I'm at the beach this week, which is great. So I'm having an opportunity to hang out with family, swim. I was even laying out yesterday, and a snake slithered under my chair, which was fun. But yeah, scared me to death. I thought it was a black mamba for a second, and I realized it was a king snake.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, but down here, I've just been writing, working on some new material. Nothing ready to announce yet, but really digging where we're going with this. Each album has kind of its own unique, I would say, theme and fingerprint. And it's just been, it's so cool. It's such an honor. It's, really with music and any gift that the Lord has given me, I'm so thankful for. It's so fun to write music. It's so fun to be able to express yourself, and especially when it has more than just the surface level appeal. There's something behind it. There's something more. So, so thankful for that.
And we've been blessed to have kind of a community of other musicians gather with us on these records. Ryan could give you the list off the top of his head, but we've just had, the guys from Sacrament, Betrayal, Becoming the Archetype, Death Therapy, just tons of guys come alongside us and sing on our records or play guitar solos on our records. Applehead, we're so blessed and encouraged that the music that we held in our hands as teenagers, the music that we found encouragement, strength, to get through those awkward, difficult years.
Yes.
Those guys are now encouraging us. Those guys are now hopping on and ripping a solo for us, or singing a chorus for us, or and I think our heart is, we just want, life is difficult. Life is difficult. Yeah. Even when it's good, it's difficult. And we just want to be an encouragement. That's truly where we're at. We want to carry the torch. I found great encouragement from Applehead, Crucified, Mortification, Deliverance, Vengeance, Betrayal. The list could go on and on. Bride and whomever, Die Happy, whomever.
Yeah.
And those guys got me through, those weird, awkward middle school, high school, difficult years. And now we find ourselves through this divine, I think, situation of God allowing us maybe to kind of carry the torch, maybe to be that. And I want to tell our fans and people who may not know us yet, we understand. I think that the Lord has done that. We understand that music matters, and we understand that the words we say and how we say them matters. And I want you to know that we do carry the weight of being appropriately responsible, and we want to be an encouragement. That is our mission. We want to carry that torch just a little bit further. And so I'm grateful to all of those bands. And I've even found out that Betrayal is, they release, some old demos, and there I've heard that band, Martyr, is getting back together, and we're just so excited to be a part of, I think, maybe a restored and reignited community among kind of Christian metal.
Absolutely.
I would say that too. I mean, there's a resurgence going on.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to say veterans, but I'm going to say veterans. But you know what I mean? I mean, it's great to hear Precious Death released a new single, working on a record. Of course, Greg Manier, he did a guest spot for us. The guys from Tourniquet, just a whole bunch of new things going on right now, which is really just cool to be a part of, or even in the same community of.
It's exciting, isn't it?
It is exciting
to see things come full circle and back again. I think that's really true. Tourniquet is writing some amazing music. Luke, the singer, goes to my church here, and they're excited about what they're doing, and soon Gary from the band will be here as well. But
that's great.
But some of the older bands that are getting back together and realizing that God never told them to quit. Back in. So I'd like you to talk a little bit more about, you said, even when times are good, they are difficult. And I think there are a good house. I have food in front of me. I have all these things. And yet life is still a struggle. It's difficult. What would you say to that person?
I think the gospel is pretty clear, that we live in a sinful, fallen, broken world. I think the Lord is still at work in that world. Obviously, through the death and resurrection of Jesus, He is the Lord and rules and reigns over all those things. But at the same time, I think our definition of goodness really needs to be considered. I know a lot of affluent people that would have all of the things that we would consider good. They would have a lifestyle that we would consider comfortable, that we would consider worthy of our pursuit. But if our priorities are not in line, as some of them may not be, they find life to be very difficult. Even among all those things, they might say that they would find themselves without peace or wholeness. And I truly believe that only true peace and wholeness, only true identity, only a true mission would come from Christ and come from our relationship with Him. And so I think, even when in an outward appearance things would seem good, our lives can really be falling apart if we're not in line with where the Lord would have us to be. And coming back to our earlier conversation, our testimony, I think that's where Ryan and I found ourselves, quite honestly.
Yeah.
In 2019, 2020, when the Lord threw us back together in the same room, and I'm so grateful. I love him. He is, Ryan is my brother, and I'm so great to have him back in my life, and for us to have musical fellowship. That's first and foremost a priority for me. And outside of that, it's fun to make music on a mission that folks can enjoy. But I think Christ. It's all about Christ. It's all about inviting Him in to our lives and asking Him to rule and reign in them, and to give us direction.
Yeah, and I would
Absolutely.
kind of piggyback off that and just say, we live in a world, like you said, it's just fallen. There's a lot of pain. People are hurting. Specifically, talking to many of the believers who have either deconstructed or even in the process of walking away. That usually stems from a type of hurt initially. Typically it's an emotional response at first, and then maybe you endeavor into reading all kinds of things and you build on top of that hurt. But I think if we're all just honest, and gut level honest, that we realize on some level that God is there, and that He is pursuing you, and that He loves you. And I just want to encourage people who are thinking about, abandoning their faith, jettisoning their faith, that He's still there. God is still there. And if you seek Him, you will find Him.
Yeah.
And it's
Very,
not too late.
very good. Good for you. Yeah, absolutely. And, Ryan, you and Courtney were just talking about this word, which is a really important word, because the Bible says God loved the world so much that He gave His only Son, Jesus Christ, that whoever believes in Him, that is such a rich word. Believe means to trust in Him and rely on Him. And there's a relationship going on. He establishes a relationship with us that He intends to continue and intensify. Really an important thing. And so when we invite Jesus Christ into our hearts, obviously that takes us to heaven and saves us. But then there's that's justification, just as if I had never sinned, just as if all of these things in my past hadn't existed. The gift of grace to me from God. But I'm justified. But He begins a process of sanctification, where He takes me one step at a time, and I begin to grow in that relationship. You talk about that growth that I have and that I continue to have. Paramount in my relationship, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really is. And I think people, believers can get bogged down because, we're all wretched. We all do awful things, and we say awful things, and we can be awful, quite honestly. And maybe somebody out there, many of us, feel unworthy of
Yes.
Returning to faith or having faith, or just But man, I mean, we go back many times, talking about King David, and his pursuit of God and all the awful things he was and said and did. But the trajectory of King David was towards God, and God showed him grace and mercy in many ways. So the same is shown to us often and over and over. And so all I can say is I'm thankful for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's a it's a difficult process, and I think the key word there is process. It's a time-consuming thing. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking of a C.S. Lewis quote in one of his books. Maybe it was toward the end of Mere Christianity, and he's talking about these 10 toy soldiers, and he's writing about these soldiers, these toys becoming real men, and he kind of alludes to the process of how that would be difficult, that would be painful for this toy to begin to break out of its mold, to begin to bend its arms, to begin to walk, and to learn how to do these things. And God is ordaining this same work spiritually among us, and we should expect it to be painful. We should expect it to be a little bit difficult, because He's breathing life into something that was dead. I imagine Lazarus coming forth was kind of a weird moment. It's kind of a and we find ourselves spiritually working out our own salvation, as it were. So I would imagine we're going to hit bumps in the road, right? And we just need to stay honest and genuine in the process.
Well, thank you so much for that. And yes, absolutely. And isn't it good, you guys, to know that God is the hound of heaven? He's always, as C.S. Lewis says, he's always going after us,
Mm-hmm.
always seeking us, always desiring a deeper relationship with us. No matter where he always wants to love that part. Ryan, Courtney, good to have you guys here today. I appreciate it. We're excited for all things Motivik, and we're excited uh, for the stuff that you're working on now. Available now, though. You can get those things right here on your screen. Go to follow them at Motivik, facebook.com/MotivikBand. Folks, thank you so much for joining me today. Great to have Motivik here with us, and Parker. Also, Parker the Bandit. Good to have him here as well. And great to have you here. Folks, don't forget, we're here every single Wednesday. Really great guests coming up in the weeks to come. Um, don't forget our Saturday live shows as well. And coming up this Saturday, it's my show called The Odd Couple. And it's a show that we've done for many years with the police chief. And it's called The Odd Couple. That's great. Come out on Saturday. Doug Van Pelt from Heaven's Metal has his show the following Saturday. And got a new show called Joy Story, where I'm just interviewing people telling their great stories. Then, of course, we have our worship in full volume from many of our worship leaders around the world. It's a great show about worship with heavy metal. So that my daily broadcast. Love to have you join all of those things and many more. Go to the Sanctuary website and see all of the podcasts available, all the upcoming events. Folks, thank you. Don't forget, you are blessed. So go.